Throwaway here because I don't want my friends or family finding this. I'm 34M and my wife, 32F, is, well, she's something else. We've been married for almost 5 years, together for 7, and I used to think we had a pretty solid thing. We had our differences. She was more social, I was more introverted. She was career-focused, and I was more about work-life balance. But overall, I thought we made it work. Or I did, at least. The trouble started small. Like, really small. A few months ago, she started spending her evenings reading. And not like trashy romance or mystery novels, which used to be her thing. No. Suddenly, she was obsessed with self-improvement books. Stuff like recommended reading for better communication, level up your mindset, improve your English for global success. It seemed innocent enough, if a bit random. I even joked once, trying to get a job as a UN ambassador or something. She laughed, said it was just for fun. Don't waste your evenings, babe, she told me one night. We could all use a little sharpening. She started going to bed early, like 8:30 p.m. early. That was red flag number 1. She used to be a night owl. We'd binge Netflix together until midnight on weeknights. Suddenly, she was brushing me off with, I'm really into this book, or let's not waste the evening. I want to journal a bit after reading. Okay, fine. People change. I respected her space. I figured maybe it was a phase, maybe she was going through some mental health stuff. I even offered to read with her. But she said no. You wouldn't be into it. It's pretty advanced. You'd be bored. Advanced? Really? I have a master's degree in engineering. But whatever. That's when the distance started. And I swear to God, if you told me a few months back that a book titled Improve Your English would be the beginning of the end of my marriage, I'd have laughed in your face. But here we are. So here's where things got off. My wife started talking differently. Not just more refined, but like she was reading from a damn LinkedIn article every time she opened her mouth. We'd be eating dinner. If she didn't skip it entirely, which was happening more often, and I'd ask her how her day went. And instead of her usual sarcastic, ugh, Karen was being a psycho again at work, it turned into, I chose not to engage in unproductive conflict today. I'm focusing on elevating my energy. Elevating your what? I try not to say anything at first. I figured, okay, she's trying a new mindset. People evolve. But this wasn't growth. This was full-on personality rebranding. She was even using phrases like manifesting progress and strategic silence. And again, the books. She was devouring them. Not just reading, highlighting, underlining, studying like she was prepping for a motivational cult seminar. I joked about it once. Just lighthearted stuff, like, you starting a podcast soon or just trying to become the next girl boss guru? She got weirdly defensive. Why do you always undermine me when I'm trying to improve myself? Always. That was the first time I said anything. I even apologized, just to keep the peace. But it stuck with me. The nights kept getting quieter. Her phone was never out of reach anymore. She'd get texts and lock the screen instantly. No more cuddling. No more movie nights. Just a closed door, a reading lamp, and don't waste your evenings staring back at me like a smug little lighthouse. And it wasn't just the distance. It was the secrecy. That's when I decided to start paying attention. Not in a jealous, controlling way. I'm not that guy. But in I live with this person, and I'm not a ing idiot way. Something didn't add up. All right. So remember how I said her phone was never out of reach? One night, around 2 a.m., I got up to pee. She wasn't in bed. The light under the office door was on. I knocked. No answer. I pushed the door open, and there she was, hunched over her laptop, headphones in, on a Zoom call. At 2 a.m., when she saw me, she flinched like I'd caught her stealing. Slapped the laptop shut so fast it made a cracking sound. I asked, everything okay? She said, and I quote, yeah, it's just a late-night English book club. You wouldn't get it. I wouldn't get a book club? In the middle of the night? With strangers? On Zoom. She tried to laugh it off, but her smile was off. Real twitchy. I didn't push it right then, but inside, something cracked open in me. I'd seen that look before. When people are caught, they don't get defensive. They get creative. Next day, I decided to check her laptop. Not proud of it. I'd never invaded her privacy in 7 years. But the lock screen hit me like a brick wall. She'd changed her password. She never changes her password. Hell, we both used to laugh at how bad she was at keeping anything private. I could have told you her email login, bank PIN, favorite swear word in middle school. Now, locked up tight. So I checked her phone when she was in the shower. But that was locked too, with Face ID. And she'd disabled the notifications on lock screen feature. Another first. I sat on the edge of the bed with her phone in my hand like it was a bomb about to go off. Something was up. Something real. That night, she came to bed early and initiated sex for the first time in weeks. Normally I'd be thrilled. But something about it felt strategic. Distracting. Like she was buying time. I hate that I even had that thought. But once the doubt starts, it doesn't stop. You start noticing everything. Like how she started wearing perfume to her book club. So yeah, the perfume. Not just any perfume. Her special occasion one. The one she wore to our anniversary dinner last year. The one she said was too expensive to wear for no reason. Now she's spritzing it on at 9 p.m. for a book club? I asked her casually, big event tonight? You smell nice. She smiled and said, we're practicing pronunciation tonight. It's all about presence. Scent can help with confidence. What? I don't know if she pulled that line from a blog or made it up, but she said it like she'd rehearsed it. And me? Like a dumbass, I nodded. Played along. Said cool. Inside, I was screaming. That night, I waited until she left the room. I opened her closet, found the tote bag she always carried to these sessions. Just a notebook, a water bottle, and gum. But at the bottom, crammed under everything else, was a pair of heels. Heels. For reading? I took a photo of it. I started documenting things. Dates. Times. Screenshots of her social media posts when I could find them. I know. I sound paranoid. I felt like I was losing my mind. But I've learned something. Gaslighting doesn't always sound like you're crazy. Sometimes it sounds like you just don't get it. And I wanted to get it. God, I wanted to be wrong. So I kept playing dumb. I let her have her space. Let her study every evening while I sat in our living room alone, trying not to spiral. She barely even acknowledged me anymore, except when she wanted something. Help with bills, errands, or emotional support after a tough conversation with her boss, which, honestly, I'm starting to doubt even happened. Then one night, and I'll never forget this, I heard her say something through the office door. She was laughing, but not just laughing, flirting. Full-on giggle snort, teenage girl on the phone energy. And then I heard her say, you're so much better at this than my husband. I froze. Literally froze in the hallway like some character in a bad movie. My ears rang. I don't remember how I got to the couch. I just remember sitting there until morning. When she came out, she looked tired, kissed my forehead like everything was fine, and I let her, for the last time. After that night, I became someone I never thought I'd be, the guy who spies on his wife. But I wasn't crazy. I knew something was going on, and I needed proof. Not for revenge. Not even really for a fight. I just needed to know I wasn't losing my grip on reality. So the next evening, when she said she was heading to the library for quiet reading, I said, cool. I might meet up with Steve later. Steve, my coworker, who lives an hour away and works nights, she didn't know that. She kissed me on the cheek, said, have fun, and left in that damn perfume and heels again. 10 minutes later, I followed her. I stayed 2 cars back, heart pounding. She wasn't heading to the library. Not even close. She drove out of town, to a place I didn't recognize. Pulled into a small parking lot behind a strip of offices. I killed my lights and watched her get out. She wasn't carrying a book. She walked up to one of the back doors, knocked twice, and some guy opened it. Tall, skinny, glasses. Looked like a substitute teacher who never grew out of his cool professor phase. He smiled when he saw her, like he knew her, like this was routine. She walked in. Door closed. I sat there in the car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands hurt. At some point I got out. I don't even know what I was thinking. I just needed to see it. I walked to the side of the building and found a darkened window. Inside, a small office, bookshelves, a couch, and my wife, sitting way too close to that guy on said couch, giggling, brushing her hair behind her ear. Not reading. Not sharpening her English skills. Just a line to my face. I stood there for maybe 5 minutes before walking back to my car. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt hollow. Like a plug had been pulled somewhere deep in me, and all the warmth and love and belief I had in her drained out. I drove home. I didn't sleep that night. Just laid there in bed, staring at the ceiling, next to a woman who came home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. So the next morning, She acted like everything was peachy, made herself a green smoothie, kissed me on the cheek like she hadn't just spent the night giggling with a guy who wasn't her husband. And me? I was silent, staring at my coffee like it was the last thing tethering me to reality. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash the blender she was using. But you know what I did? I asked, "So, how was your English practice last night?" She smiled. "Good. We're working on past perfect tense and public speaking structure. It's a little dry, but it helps." I nodded slowly. Must have been a great session. She didn't flinch. Not a blink. Just said, "Yep," and walked off like she'd just told me she bought new socks. That was when I realized something terrifying. She was good at lying. Not nervous, not hesitant, not guilty. Just practiced. So I made a plan. I wasn't going to confront her in anger. I wasn't going to give her a scene. I wanted to be smart. Strategic. I needed evidence. Solid, undeniable proof. I wanted the truth out of her mouth, not just my own words thrown back at me with gaslighting and fake tears. I started backing up everything. Phone records. She'd been texting an unsaved number heavily. Screenshots of strange transactions. She Venmo'd a language coach for $100 over the past month, and even a discreet voice recording app one set up in the office. Yeah, I went full detective. I had to. You don't build a life with someone for 7 years only to get tossed aside like a character flaw. Then, just when I thought I had everything under control, something even weirder happened. She came home early one night. Panicked. Hair a mess. Eyes wide. Didn't even greet me. Just stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door. I knocked gently and asked what was wrong. She snapped, "Nothing. I'm just tired." Don't ask me a bunch of questions. But I saw the look in her eyes. Something had gone wrong. And I had a gut feeling whatever was going on with Mr. Book Club wasn't going so well anymore. I just didn't know how deep it would go yet. A few days after her weird, panicked arrival home, things shifted. Not in a good way. More like when the power flickers before a full blackout. She got quieter. More irritable. Less, "I'm improving myself," and more, "I'm barely keeping it together." The perfume stopped. The book club excuses became lazy. She actually told me she was going to a cafe at 9:30 p.m. to practice idioms. I asked her, "What kind of idioms?" She blinked like a deer in headlights and mumbled, "You know, expressions. Like the ones in that one book." There was no book. She couldn't name one. But I just nodded. I think she could tell I wasn't buying it anymore, because suddenly she started flipping the script. "I feel like you don't support my goals," she said one night out of nowhere. I was doing dishes. She was scrolling her phone. I turned around. "What goals?" She didn't answer. Instead, she said, "Maybe we've grown apart. People evolve, right? Maybe you're just too content." Too content. Like that was a flaw. I asked her, "Are you cheating on me?" She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't even deny it right away. She just said, "Why would you think that?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. I said, "Because you changed everything about your life in 2 months. Locked me out of your world, and think I'm too stupid to notice." That got her defensive. "Oh, so now self-improvement is cheating?" I almost laughed. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. She stormed off and didn't come home that night. Said she was staying at a friend's to clear her head. I didn't bother asking who. I already knew the answer. And when I checked our shared calendar the next day, yeah, we used to share everything like that. I saw an entry she forgot to delete. Meeting, 10:30 p.m., H's place. I didn't know who H was, but I was about to find out. So, H's place. That calendar entry stuck with me like a splinter in the brain. It was the only clue she hadn't scrubbed clean. And she hadn't updated the shared calendar in weeks. Probably forgot it was still linked to mine. So I did what any broken, suspicious, sleep-deprived husband would do. I clicked on it. The location? An address downtown. A real one. An apartment complex. Nice enough to have a key fob entrance, but not nice enough to hide its Yelp reviews. I looked it up online and found out it belonged to a guy named Hayden. Yeah, Hayden, who ran some shady life coaching program for elevated masculine leadership. Basically, he charged desperate dudes $500 to tell them to stand up straighter and ghost their girlfriends. I kept digging. Found his Instagram. Surprise. My wife had liked nearly every post for the past 3 months. She even commented under one selfie of him shirtless holding recommended reading for men who want to win. So much clarity in the way you break it down, raising hands. I felt like I'd been punched in the lungs. Not just because she was cheating, that much I already suspected, but because she was investing in this guy's delusion. His whole brand was about disciplining the weak feminine and outgrowing small-minded partners. And she agreed with it. What hurt more than the sex, and yeah, I had no doubts by this point they were sleeping together, was the fact that she believed in him. She thought he was worth betraying me for. That night, she came home around midnight. No explanation. Just climbed into bed and pretended she'd been at her friend's watching movies. I didn't say a word. Not because I was over it, but because I was done playing defense. I never thought I'd be the type of guy who sets a trap for his own wife. But after everything, the gaslighting, the lies, the perfume, the life coach with abs, and an ego problem, I stopped caring about what kind of guy I was. I just wanted the truth. All of it. On record. So I called in a favor from an old college buddy who works in IT. Legal gray area stuff. I'm not proud. But with his help, I mirrored her phone to an app on my tablet. Texts, calls, even location sharing, all synced in real time. And on Thursday night, when she left again at 9:12 p.m. after telling me she was just taking a walk to clear her head, I watched in real time as her location pinged, Hayden's apartment. Meanwhile, I set up a second phone in our office, hidden under a stack of books. Audio recording on. She didn't even check. Just walked into the house the next morning like nothing had happened and went straight into the shower. While she sang. I sat on the couch, looking at the live transcript of her texts from that morning. H. You still taste like strawberries. Smiling face with horns. Her. Stop, I'm trying to act normal around my roommate, lol. H. Tell him we're practicing conditional tense again, face with tears of joy. Her. Elmio, I said idioms this time, grinning face with sweat. He still believes it. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt clarity. Later that evening, I told her I made a reservation for dinner. Just to talk, I said. Somewhere quiet. She perked up. Oh, you're taking initiative. I smiled. Yeah, I figured we could have a conversation. In full sentences. She didn't know that the dinner was a decoy. I had no intention of going out with her. I just needed her out of the house. Because while she got dressed and did her makeup like she wasn't a walking betrayal in heels, I was downstairs printing out every screenshot, every transcript, every audio file I'd collected. I made a little portfolio, neatly stapled, put it on the kitchen table. Then I left. Let her find that instead of dinner. She texted me at 7:19 p.m. Her, where are you? I'm at the restaurant. Her. Are you serious right now? I didn't respond, because by then, I knew she was already driving back to the house. She was probably halfway through her carefully contoured meltdown when she opened the front door and saw that nice little black folder on the kitchen table. No note, just facts. Printed screenshots of her texts with Hayden. The audio transcript from the night she said I was too content. A printed map showing her location history from the past 3 weeks. Venmo transactions. Her Instagram comment history. Even a printout of that H's Place calendar entry with a sticky note that read, idioms, huh? She called me 4 times. I ignored each one. On the 5th try, I picked up. Didn't say anything. Just let her breathe into the line like a cornered animal. Finally, she said, you've been spying on me? I said, I gave you every chance to be honest. You picked Hayden. Silence. Then, incredibly, you broke my trust. I actually laughed. I don't remember the last time something felt that bitter in my throat. You lied for months, I said. You cheated. You manipulated me. And now I broke your trust. She didn't apologize. Not once. She said, it wasn't serious. I just needed something different. I felt stuck. I said, so instead of talking to your husband, you downloaded a whole new personality and gave your body to a motivational speaker with a motivational dick? She hung up. I sat there alone, in my buddy Steve's guest room, phone still in my hand. And I felt something weird. Not relief. Not sadness. Not rage. Just done. Like I had finally stepped off a treadmill I didn't know I was on. But the story doesn't end there. Because 2 days later, I found out Hayden wasn't the only thing she lied about. There was a second guy, and he had no idea she was married. Just when I thought I'd seen it all, I got a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was from someone named Jake. At first, I thought maybe it was some random spam. But then he sent me a screenshot, a direct message conversation with my wife. And it wasn't just casual flirting. This was full on. I think I love you type stuff. I called him. He picked up, clearly surprised but honest. Dude, he said. I had no idea she was married. She told me she was single. I'm honestly pissed. We talked for hours. Jake was just as blindsided as I was. He showed me texts where she'd told him she was moving on from me, starting fresh, etc. The more I learned, the worse it got. Apparently, while she was learning English and improving herself with Hayden, she was simultaneously stringing Jake along, planning a future with him. And the lies? They weren't just about me. She lied about where she lived, who she was with, what she was doing. She lived a double life, a triple life if you count the perfect wife act she kept up at home. I felt sick. My entire marriage felt like a staged play, and I was the fool applauding on cue. But here's the thing. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing how blind I'd been to the signs. How much I ignored because I didn't want to believe the woman I loved could be that cruel. So I had a decision to make. Sitting there, phone in hand, talking to Jake, I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff. Everything in me screamed to just walk away, shut the door, and never look back. But part of me, the part that loved her before she became this stranger, it begged for answers, for some kind of closure. I thought about confronting her one last time, but what for? The truth was already out. The lies, the cheating, the manipulation, it was all a done deal. So I made a choice. No more chasing ghosts. I told Jake I'd handle things from here. That he deserved the truth too, but I wouldn't be the guy who dragged everyone through the mud. Next, I called my closest friends and family. Not for sympathy, to rebuild a support system I realized I'd neglected while trying to keep up appearances. Then, I sat down and wrote a list. Not of reasons she was a liar or a cheat, but of what I needed to heal. Boundaries, space, therapy, new routines, self-respect. That night, I sent her a text. We need to talk. I'm done pretending. This marriage isn't salvageable unless honesty comes first. No reply. Not a surprise. But I felt lighter. Like the first breath after holding it underwater for too long. Weeks passed. No meaningful contact from her. Just occasional cold messages trying to check in or explain, but I stopped responding. At first, the silence was crushing. Every quiet moment echoed with what-ifs and regrets. I questioned everything. Was I not enough? Could I have done something differently? Should I have seen the signs sooner? But slowly, the anger dulled. The sadness lingered, but it was quieter now. I started focusing on me, going back to hobbies I'd abandoned, reconnecting with old friends, seeing a therapist who didn't sugarcoat anything. I learned that betrayal isn't just about what someone else did. It's about how you forgive yourself for staying blind so long. And here's the thing. Acceptance didn't mean forgetting or pretending it didn't hurt. It meant acknowledging the pain, the loss, and still choosing to move forward. Not because she deserved it, but because I did. Looking back, I realized my biggest mistake wasn't trusting her. It was ignoring my own instincts. The little things that felt off. The weird excuses. The sudden self-improvement phase. The late-night idiom practice. I wish I had paid attention to those early signs instead of making excuses. Another hard truth. People don't change just because they say they will. Actions speak louder than words, or recommended reading on life coaching. And finally, I learned that your time and emotional energy are precious. Don't waste your evenings, or your life, chasing someone who's already checked out. If you're feeling like you're always the one fighting for honesty, respect, or love, it's okay to walk away. It's not weakness. It's self-preservation. If you're reading this because you suspect your partner is lying, cheating, or just not the person you thought they were, don't wait. Trust your gut. Keep your eyes open. Don't let love blind you to red flags. And if the truth hits you like a ton of bricks, let yourself feel it. Shock, anger, sadness, all of it. But don't get stuck there. Build your boundaries. Protect your peace. Surround yourself with people who see your worth, even when you don't. And remember, you deserve a partner who chooses you every day, not someone who's juggling half a dozen lives behind your back. I'm still healing. It's a slow, ugly process sometimes, but I'm choosing me now. And honestly, that's the best decision I've made in years.